Thank you, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
My question is about physical health, and I'll say it like this. I know myself to not be the physical body or the physical world ultimately in my essence, and yet despite the fact that I feel like my vibration and my sense of well-being is higher than it's ever been,
yes.
I notice that I continue to manifest chronic illness within my body on my skin.
All right. And therefore, since, as you say, you know that you're operating on a higher vibration, the first assumption would be, how does this experience serve me? Because it must be serving me for a positive reason, even though I may not be aware of what that is, because it must be the result of me operating on a higher vibration, which means by operating on a higher vibration, I must be able to handle whatever it is this experience has to teach me. So what are you learning from having this experience? How is it serving you to have this experience? What are you getting out of beneficially having this experience? Or what do you believe you might need to have this experience for? If you can answer any of those, you will be starting on the path to understanding why you may be manifesting this, because it can't be a contradiction to your vibration. It has to be the result of your vibration for a positive reason. Yes?
Right. And there are many amazing lessons that I've learned from having the skin catalyst. It's taken me down the most metaphysical, beautiful path of deepening in my self-realization.
All right. So that can be one reason why you manifested this, yes?
Certainly.
Now, here's another question. Do you believe that there might be another way in which you can learn the same lessons without necessarily needing to manifest it this way or prompt yourself with this particular experience?
Yes.
And in your imagination, what might another way be that you would be willing to learn the same lessons without doing it this way?
Well, I feel like the path that this catalyst has taken me on is so firmly rooted in terms of my desire to explore my self-realization on deeper levels.
Yes.
And so I feel like at this point, even if the skin catalyst were to leave, I would continue down the same.
I understand that fundamentally, but I am asking you, in what other ways do you believe you would be able to give yourself the impetus to do so if you didn't have that particular signal anymore? What signal would get you to continue to explore those things?
I feel like at this point, I wouldn't need a signal. Perhaps that's a limited perspective, but
all right.
But I do feel like regardless of what happens, skin catalyst or not, I'm not going to abandon my spiritual path, you could say. I'm not going to stop.
All right. So in a sense, you are saying you have a preference not to necessarily experience it this way anymore, but if it did continue, you wouldn't necessarily invalidate it, would you?
Correct.
All right. So in a sense, you're saying it doesn't really matter whether it continues or not. It's what you do with it, if it continues or not. Yes?
My preference is that it would not continue, but
But is it a preference, or are you making it conditional? That it really must not continue? Or do you really understand that it doesn't matter to you whether it does or not?
I understand that it doesn't matter.
And yet?
My question would be,
yes,
if you can perceive perhaps some sort of energetic distortion that I'm holding on to that would perpetuate.
Well, how would you describe the manifestation physically? How does it appear to manifest?
Hot and itchy and kind of consuming and
all right,
relentless.
Relentless. All right. Are you itching to do something you're not doing?
There's been an itching to create more, which I've begun to honor more in, sharing my experiences and my wisdom and my.
But is there an aspect of it that you're holding back? Is there something you're afraid to express in moving forward, and what you say is your passion?
Not anymore.
From this moment, or was there?
There was.
What was that? What belief was holding you back?
I think it just came down to what other people would think, or whether or not the information I would put out would be valuable to others.
Do you understand that if it is your truth, it is going to be valuable to someone?
I do.
All right. So you have no longer any hesitation or resistance to putting yourself out there in the way that represents your truth?
Correct.
All right. How do you feel right now?
Quite blissful.
All right. So if that's the state that you prefer, then we would suggest you stay in that vibratory state. Yes?
Yes.
And then in that vibratory state, you will not feel itching, relentlessness, or any of those other symptomologies that you've been describing, because they're not germane or relevant to that state. Yes?
Yes.
But you need to stay in that state.
I understand. Thank you.
Does that help you?
It helps me a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of you, please realize every single state is distinct and discrete. And the slightest difference in definition is a completely different state with completely different experiences that go along with it. So be aware, be very aware to not create contradictory definitions within the state you prefer. For when people say things like, I am following my passion, but what if I act on my passion and something bad happens? That's not a definition of the state of passion. That's a different state. So watch how you formulate the way in which you define your state, because usually that determines exactly how you will experience your life, because even what may appear to be the smallest difference in definition can make the most profound difference in your experience of life. So pay attention and be clear and precise about your definitions, and don't blend them together in contradictory ways if you don't want to experience a confusing or contradictory life.